Hi, and welcome back to this Monday edition of Focal Point on AFRTalk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation today. You know, we always are seeking to improve the lineup of programs we have here on American Family Radio Talk and also on the American Family Radio Inspirational Network. We have two networks here at AFR, American Family Radio. One is Inspirational, where the focus is on worship music and biblical teaching. The other is AFRTalk, you're listening to right now, where our focus is on evaluating cultural trends from a biblical worldview. But we do include programs that impart content and are more teaching-oriented as part of our AFR Talk lineup. And I'm honored and pleased to welcome to our decision maker line Hermann Eben. Hermann is going to be hosting a brand new program on AFR called Gr8Relationships. That's Gr8, Gr8Relationships. It'll be airing on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Central on our radio network. Hermann, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you on, and we want to welcome you to the AFR family. Looking forward very much to having your program as a part of our lineup.
Well, thank you. It's a real privilege because we have I do believe, a different way to look at relationships, and we're coming at it from not just marriage, not just the family, but we're leaning into being able to talk about relationships both in work, in life, and in love.
Well, talk to us a little bit about the program. It's going to start on Sunday, and I know that you have developed a Gr8Relationships. You've developed sort of a curriculum that enables people to work on their relationships, and I hear what you're saying is that what you're going to talk about on this program is going to be applicable to every relationship in our lives, not just to married couples, but the principles you talk about are really going to have application in every relationship that we have in life.
That's exactly right, Brian. We really do believe, very different than some people, we believe that relationships are very, very simple. There's only one problem, and there's only one solution. And the problem is you make everything about you. You flash at me all the time. The solution is to pursue the best for others patiently, kindly, sacrificially, and unconditionally. And the two greatest tools that you need and the most important tools that you need are confession and forgiveness. All of this is based on the biblical aspect of how relationships work, and that's what makes the difference. And the additional thing that we like to talk about is the fact that you don't need to have all sorts of counseling or psychological understanding about all this. You don't need all that. All you need is God's Word. It's very, very straightforward, very simple. And too many people believe that it's complex, and that's the reason why we see relationships going the wrong way too much of the time.
Well, and I would think, Hermann, talking here with Hermann Eben, who will be hosting a brand new program on the AFRTalk and AFR Inspirational Networks, Gr8Relationships, starting this Sunday at 10:30. And Hermann, you know, when you talk about the key to relationships being fairly simple and straightforward, loving others sacrificially, being patient, forgiving, and so forth, everybody would agree with that. And yet I think what happens, and this is what I think you're going to be focused on, what happens when we actually get into relationships where we begin to experience a little bit of conflict, we feel a little bit frustrated, we feel like we're not getting our way, we forget all about the sacrificial part of relationships, and all of a sudden it's about insisting that I get something for myself out of this deal, and we don't even realize that that's what we're doing. We're just reacting instinctively, and we don't realize how we're violating some of these very simple but profound dynamics that make for effective relationships.
Very well said, Brian. That's exactly right. In fact, what we refer to it as is a return on investment relationship. Now, just get that point right there. That's how we typically do relationships. We want to put a certain amount into the relationship. Oh, I'm being very unconditional. I'm being very loving. I'm putting this into that relationship. And then the person on the other side doesn't respond in kind, and we get all upset. That's a return on investment relationship. That has nothing to do with the type of relationship God has called us to do with each other, and certainly not the way that He does a relationship with us.
You know, I remember reading a book a number of years ago that basically asked the question: Are you in this relationship for ministry or for manipulation? And are you really in this relationship because you want to contribute something to this other person, you want to give something to them, Or in reality, is what you're doing trying to manipulate them and trying to maneuver them into getting what you want out of this relationship while sort of baptizing what you do under some kind of guise of holiness or sanctity. So it seems like part of what you're going to be doing on this program is kind of helping us see some of our own blind spots, how we actually try to use people while thinking, maybe even telling ourselves that we're actually trying to give something to them.
That's right, Brian. In fact, there was one of our favorite sayings came from my mentor, Robert Fritz. He specifically says, when you have control or manipulation or domination, just put that in parentheses, when you have control in a relationship, at some point that relationship will become intolerable. Now just think about that. We've all experienced that. When somebody's trying to control us, when somebody's manipulating us, when somebody is having this attitude that they're trying to get their way, our freedom starts waving its arms and saying, this is wrong, I shouldn't be controlled by this. And therefore we end up rebelling against control, and that's what causes the relationships to go bad. We try to control each other, we try to get our way, we try to manipulate, all those type of things, and it just makes the relationship awful. And that's another fun thing we typically talk about. How often have you heard in a movie or how often have you heard on TV somebody saying, well, my relationship is just complex. You know, it's very complicated. Well, why is it so complicated? Because you're trying to figure out all the different ways to get what you want out of the other person instead of simply, I'm just going to pursue their best, whether they do anything for me or not. I'm just going to pursue their best.
And isn't part of it, maybe, Herman, that we place too much our expectations of what we want to get out of a relationship or what we want a relationship to be are too high. I think all of us have expectations of other people that are a little too high. And if we think that that relationship is sort of the key to my fulfillment as a person, then it seems almost inevitable if our hope is in that relationship rather than ultimately in God, then we're probably not going to be able to help ourselves from trying to manipulate and extract from that other person what we want out of that relationship.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What you're saying there is one of our, I think it's our number 2 program that we're talking about expectations. And it's so important for people to understand how expectations work. When I am expecting something out of you, if you and I are in a relationship and I'm expecting something out of you, more than likely I'm going to turn it into a demand, and I'm not going to be happy until you fulfill that expectation. That's the reason why we say that if you have mutual in your definition of a relationship, more than likely you're going to hurt your relationship rather than help it, because you are ending up putting demands on the relationship rather than, I'm just going to pursue their best. That's what I'm going to do.
You know, I remember hearing an illustration about expectations where a guy drives into his driveway coming home from work, and he drives in the driveway at 5:47. Supposed to be home at 5:30, drives in the driveway at 5:47. Neighbor next door is smiling, waving, cheerful, greeting him. How was your day? Walks in the house and gets a very frosty reception from his wife. Why? Because his neighbor didn't expect him home at 5:30. His wife did. And so the expectation then creates that kind of conflict. And one of the things you talk about, Herman, and this will be the last question, then we'll let you go, is that your understanding of men and women is that the way they are designed to relate to each other, communicate to each other, is really designed to be complementary rather than resulting, as it so often does, in conflict. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, in fact, let me remind everybody, too, that we have a website, that Gr8Relationships.com, that has 211 videos on it to explain a lot of this, so I'd love for people to go sign up on that. But yes, what you're talking about, Brian, is so critical. Understanding how God designed man, how he designed woman, and how those two designs are directly tied to the image of God. And the way that we define the image of God, I'd love for people to take a look at that. We use 2 words to define the image of God. He's powerful and he's relational. Now notice how that ties directly to the testosterone base of man being powerful and the estrogen progesterone base of women being relational. And when two people, the relational and the powerful, come together, they are the best demonstration of the image of God to this lost and dying world. That's the reason why God loves marriage so much and he hates divorce so much. Because marriage done right is the best reflection of his image to this lost and dying world. And we were really big on that, and then we're really big on what the judgments cause to happen with that type of situation and how the designs and the judgments start battling each other. There's just a lot of fun things to talk about when it comes to understanding how these relationships actually are very simple, but we tend to make them complex because we just don't understand the basics.
Talking here with Hermann Eben, who's hosting a brand new program here on AFRTalk beginning this Sunday at 10:30 called Gr8Relationships. They've got a website, Gr8Relationships.com, and it's Gr8 Relationships, Gr8Relationships.com. One last question. We got about 90 seconds here, Hermann. But I remember Martin Luther one time, the founder of the Protestant Reformation, saying one time that marriage is the school for character. That if you want to sign up for a curriculum that's going to produce character in you, marriage is the place to go. And marriage is designed to be that for us, to help us grow. You really can't remain self-centered and selfish as you were as a single person if you want a successful marriage. And so really what you're going to help people do through your program is to help people grow to maturity through their married relationships and through the other relationships that they have in their lives. Last word, 30 seconds.
Yeah, what I would like to say, just to repeat, you're right. There is no doubt that it creates character. What I really want people to understand is the simplicity of forgiveness and confession are the two most important tools in order to help a relationship do what is right. To stay under that umbrella of pursuing the best for each other. Use confession and use forgiveness.
Our guest has been Hermann Eben, who will be hosting a new program right here on AFRTalk, Gr8Relationships, beginning this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Hermann, thank you very much for being with us, and God bless you and the work you continue to do there with your wife at Gr8Relationships.
Thank you, Brian, and God bless you too. Thanks.
Hermann Eben from Gr8Relationships. Go to Gr8Relationships, Gr8 Relationships, Gr8Relationships.com. We'll be back with your phone calls, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Stay with us, back in 2.